Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our entitled people. In today's episode, entitled cousin thinks she can still be friendly with family after she sued them. Woman calls my animals pests in my own home. Are you going to buy all of them? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled cousin thinks she can still be friendly with family after she sued them. This has been irking me for a while. I have two uncles that live on the other side of my country, and they mostly communicate with my mother via the phone because they are all old. Uncle 1, we'll call him Roger, is unwell and a few years ago had to move to an assisted living home. His daughter, we'll call her Barbara, lives nearby, and so does his younger brother, Uncle 2, who we will call Kyle. Roger has had issues with drugs his whole life and wasn't the best parent to Barbara, so she understandingly hasn't always wanted to be involved with his issues. As such, he gave Kyle his power of attorney, and Kyle has been looking after him to the best of his abilities, while also struggling with his own family issues. When Roger moved to the home, he sold his house to Kyle for a steal because it was in horrible shape. His druggy friends had been abusing it for years, and it needed major work. Kyle spent a lot of money fixing it up and then was lucky enough to sell it while real estate prices were high in their area, so he made a bit of a profit. Barbara got word that a profit was made and wanted it. She fought Kyle for power of attorney over her dad and then sued him for the profit made on the house, claiming the money would go to Roger if she won. A judge agreed with her that Kyle should have given the profit to Roger, so she won several $100,000 from Kyle. The renovations he did on the house were not taken into consideration, so Kyle is actually out money. He didn't just have to pay the profit, he had to pay the difference between the two selling prices. Barbara, of course, didn't give the money to Roger but used it for herself. Luxury vacations, etc., the whole family knew about. Kyle had planned on using the profit to pay for better care for Roger, but she's left Roger in a crappy home because she didn't want to waste the money. Here we are 6 months later, and she is having issues with Roger, and she still thinks she can make Kyle and my mother help her. No, lady, you wanted the money, and it comes with the responsibility of taking care of your dad alone now. The nerve of her expecting them all to still shoulder the burden she insisted she had after suing our uncle shocks me. Unfortunately, Kyle is a lovely person who will let her walk all over him and doesn't want his brother to suffer, so she will get away with this. It infuriates me. Power of attorney comes with a lot of responsibilities, particularly if you plunder any monies for your own benefit. I hope she is left to squirm. She deserves to be. Just say no. Her dad is her problem now after she insisted. She made her bed. That's what we have advised Uncle Kyle to do, but I know him, he will cave. It's also Kyle's brother. Not going to be easy for him to just abandon a brother he clearly loves. Unfortunately, there is rarely karmic justice in situations like this. She needs to cut out of the family. I can't stand people like her. Woman calls my animals pests in my own home. This story is so ridiculous that I just had to share it here. I'll never understand calling someone's pet disgusting because you don't like that type of animal, let alone in someone's own house. If that person has such a gross animal as a pet, they probably love that animal as much as they would a cat or a dog. A little bit of context. I live in an apartment complex on the 9th floor and I have a ton of animals, including pet rats, which I breed with as a hobby that I am very passionate about. I also own a bunch of reptiles, which is an odd combination, but I love both equally. Not everyone's cup of tea, I know, but it is immediately clear if you come in that they are well taken care of. I was looking to rehome one of my ball pythons. When rehoming a reptile, I make sure they go to a good home where they will have as much space and expertise as here, if not more. I found someone with a lot of experience, a ton of space for this little guy. This is where the story unfolds. I welcomed the new owner into my home to pick up the snake, who was a very nice young woman. She was together with an older woman, who I assumed was her mother. Her mom immediately went off about how terrified she was of heights. Not an issue, of course. I am scared of heights, and a lot of visitors say that they don't like how high up my house is. I tried to say that I was also scared when I first moved in, but she loudly spoke over me and didn't even look at me. I didn't really think much of it and moved on. I then opened the door to my living room, and the first thing this woman sees is some of my rats. She loudly exclaims that the house is also filled with vermin. I don't live in an English-speaking country, so this is not exactly what she said, but more or less the same. Her tone the whole time was just loud and mean and judgmental. As someone with rats and snakes for pets, I am used to people giving me reactions like this, so instead of getting mad, I try to tell her I love these animals a lot. She once again didn't listen and spoke over me. This is where normally I would just kick her out, but the daughter seemed very ashamed of her mother, and I also just wanted this sale to happen. It's not her fault, after all. Also, considering the mother also owned reptiles, I thought it was very weird that she would respond this way, since she probably knows what it's like when people say this about her own pets. Anyway, I just ignored the woman and talked with the daughter, who was super sweet the whole time. My guess is that she doesn't bother telling her mother to stop because it probably makes things worse. I also mentioned how I was saving up for a service dog, and the mom couldn't help but say in this house. The daughter scoffed at her comment. I guess she said that because I live in an apartment, but I am always at home and have all the time in the world to walk my dog. Or maybe because my living room was a bit messy when this happened. Either way, it's not for her to judge on so little information. Both me and my boyfriend felt like slamming the door in her face after that comment, and I think if she'd made one more comment, I would have. I honestly just felt bad for the daughter. Luckily, they left after that. I got some nice pictures of the snake in his now home, and I am happy that he went to a good home. The mother can stay in the car next time, though, lol. You mean you don't have a boa constrictor that you could have shown her how to wear around her neck? That's when you go all polite and smile and say, I know my taste isn't what most people are used to. Why don't you wait outside where you would be more comfortable? And hold open the front door for said rude person. I was so baffled by her audacity, I didn't even think of that. I have done educational programs with my snakes where I would run into Karens every now and then, and I had no trouble responding that way. But in my own home? Next time I'll do better, haha. Excuse me, but I would like to request both rat and snake tax, please. I want to see the sweet little things. I have a pet mouse and it completely grosses my mother out. LOL. If she comes over when I'm playing with him, she makes kind of a grossed out face when she sees him scampering all over me. Then again, she saves all of her paper towel and TP tubes for him because she knows he loves to play with him. I feel like rodents are really underappreciated as pets. Biscuit is the friendliest and sweetest little guy. I would love to get rats sometime, but don't really have room for an adequate cage. Are you going to buy all of them? Obligatory. This happened a while ago, but I just remembered the other day. I work in a mom and pop donut shop that makes all donuts by scratch in-house. We have a buttload of different donuts, and more recently we started doing turnovers. Not the pastry kind with the granulated sugar on top, just regular donut dough with different fruit fillings. We don't have apple ones, but we have other donuts with the same kind of dough and apple filling, literally just a different shape than a turnover. With background out of the way, we had this family come in saying they were from the East Coast, and they asked if we had apple turnovers. We explained we didn't, and that we had other apple donuts that they could try, but they were insistent on apple turnovers. We told them, specifically one guy in the group was making the biggest deal about it, that we can make them as a special order, but they'd need to buy a minimum of 6 apple turnovers, and they didn't want to do that. They ended up getting other donuts, but the guy kept grumbling about the turnovers. It'd be one thing if it was a one-time, but then they kept coming back checking to see if we'd started making apple turnovers yet, and every time we'd have roughly the same conversation with him, depending on who was helping them. Finally, they talked to my boss about it and making apple turnovers, and thankfully he asked them if they were going to stop by every day after we closed to buy all apple turnovers we didn't sell each day, and that finally shut them up. I'm not sure if he's come back since I don't really remember any identifying features, but I haven't had anyone ask me for an apple turnover yet since. If the craving was really that bad, the only answer would have been yes. Some people. All I can think about now is our local donut shop's honeymoon donuts. It's a donut with a dent instead of a hole, and in the dent is filled with essentially pie filling. There's icing too. They make them in all kinds of different flavors. And now I'm going to have to get up at 6 a.m. so that I can get there in time to have my choice of flavors tomorrow morning. I love you. I hate you. Make the apple turnovers. $12 each for one, $6 each for two, $4 each for three, $3 each for four, $2.40 each for five, $2 each for six. He can buy one or six, you don't care. Eat the leftovers. Why wouldn't they just buy six since they come by looking for them every other day? This isn't entitlement, it's just abject cognitive deficiency. Buy the six and SDFU. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.